Gentlemen, ladies, what if Superman had decided to fly down, rip off the roof of the White House, grab the president right out of the Oval Office? Who would have stopped him?
I want to build a team of some very bad people who I think can do some good.
Y'all jokers must be crazy.
I'm not just one of your many toys.
What?
Tell me what to do.
This is the deal. You disobey me, you die. Try to escape, you die.
You got a boyfriend?
You irritate or vex me,
I'm known to be quite vexing. I'm just forewarning you.
you die.
If they get caught, we throw them under the bus.
What a ride!
Let's play.
Come on, got some better to do?
Light it up!
I love this guy.
Not good.
Don't forget, we're the bad guys.
Are you sweet talking me? All of that chit chat's gonna get you hurt.
The back is ready to crack as he raises his hands to the sky. And the girl in the corner is everyone's fun as she continues with a wink of her eye.
Bye-bye. What you gonna do? You wanna see something? Yo, y'all wanna see something? Yes, I wanna see something.
I was just trying to get you there. No hard feelings, right? We good.
What you having?
Beer.
Whiskey.
What am I, 12?
How about you, hot stuff?
Water.
That's a good idea, honey.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to GeekFest Rants. My name is Carlos Perron, and joining me today I have Kyle Perron. Say hi, Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
Well, today we are going to be reviewing and going into, we promised we would, Suicide Squad, the latest DC entry into the superhero franchise machine that seems to be taking over the movies lately. We are coming off the more recent release of Batman vs. Superman, which we will also be talking about at the end of this show because we finally got a chance to watch the DVD Ultimate Edition or Ultimate Cut or whatever we want to call it, extended cut, to see if it, makes us feel any different about the film or liked it more, disliked it more, whatever. We're going to hit that at the end. But let's start with Suicide Squad. Now, as you guys probably know, and we talked about this on many episodes, the DC universe as far as film goes has been lagging a little behind the Marvel side of the film franchises. Not so much in terms of quality. I mean, there is a quality difference, but there's also a box office difference, which is more noticeable. One of the complaints, I guess you could say, and I wouldn't go back as The Dark Knight, for example, because The Dark Knight films, Batman Begins, all that trilogy was very successful and very well critically acclaimed. What I'm talking about is more of the new wave of DC films, the what you could consider to be the Zack Snyder push of all these new combining of characters and reintroducing characters. There were plenty of bombs in the past on the DC side, things like Green Lantern, for example, but this is like I guess you could call it the resurgence of a new attempt for DC to compete, especially to compete directly with Marvel. And it started, I believe, with Man of Steel, which, again, people had a little bit of a negative reaction to it. They seemed to polarize fans, a lot of them having to do with them being used to, in my opinion, Christopher Reeve, the iconic Superman for people our age. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, he was Superman. And the introduction on film, because there have been a couple of tries. Brenda Ruth tried it, and, Different people have tried it. It never seemed to stick. This last time around when we had Man of Steel, I really liked the film. I really enjoyed it, and I really look forward to the continuation of that character. There was a darker element to it. I liked that. But I think a lot of people, in the same way that they like Captain America, the first Captain America, which is over the top, in my opinion, with the mythical aspect of Captain America, the romanticized World War II, mom and apple pie type of aura that was perfect for the Captain America film, which to me made its sequels, The Winter Soldier and even Civil War, much, much better films, in my opinion. Is something that's happened, I think, with the Superman franchise now, and that is that people were not given a more, I guess you can call it traditional, or maybe people are just stuck on the Christopher Reeve model, which I don't have any problems with Christopher Reeve. I love the first. I absolutely love the second. Once you got to the third and fourth, it kind of goes downhill. But in this case, with Man of Steel, like I said before, I was looking forward to the continuation. So with Batman vs. Superman, I was definitely looking for the continuation of that storyline. Now, DC, by introducing Batman now, reintroducing Batman into this whole mix, gives us Suicide Squad, which also ties in Batman. Now, Kyle, why don't you, before we really go deep into the movie, why don't you give us a little background as far as comics go? Obviously, they are combining bad guys. The only time I've seen this, because I don't follow the comic books, is when we watch Arrow, right?
Yeah.
And they gave us a Suicide Squad. Obviously not this Suicide Squad, but for me at least, it's like, oh, so this is what the Suicide Squad is all about. Why don't you give us a little background of the comic?
Okay, so they originally, I think it was like in the 50s or 60s, they had the original Suicide Squad, which was just a bunch of soldiers. It was kind of like the A-Team, but in a comic form. It was like, but the only like original member was like Colonel Rick Flag Sr., who is supposed in the comics now is kind of referred to as the father of the Rick Flag that we see now generally. And it was just a bunch of military people doing military suicide missions, basically, and they were called the Suicide Squad. But then eventually, I think it was like in the 70s or 80s, they came out with like the first Suicide Squad, like that was made up of villains, and the one that we really know.
Superhero-ish villains.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, yeah, they had like Deadshot, Enchantress. Enchantress was actually part of the team, and then there was a couple other people. They had Slipknot was on there at one point too, the one that got his head blown off in the movie. But like, and it's kind of funny though with the comics because they actually kind of had a similar thing happen to Slipknot in the comics, only instead his hand got blown off. Because in the original comics they had the bomb implant in like the wrist instead of instead of on the head. So eventually they transitioned over to that in the comics. But
I thought that was, it's funny when I saw that scene of them being injected, to me it reminded me of Escape from New York, when Snake Plissken is given the shot in the neck and he's told if you deviate from the plan, you're going to die, basically. Yeah. Now, with the movie, again, because they're reintroducing new characters or reintroducing old characters and bringing in some new ones, just like Batman vs. Superman that, like I said before, gave us Batman for the first time in this era and gives us Wonder Woman for the first time in this era. This film gives us a little bit of Batman, but they also give us a little bit of Joker because he's tied to Harley Quinn, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's like it's funny because this movie to me felt like three different things were happening. One is the Suicide Squad, the history of this squad being formed. Then you have this side thing going on with Batman because he's also working on some stuff on the side.
Yeah.
And the Joker is also kind of working on stuff on the side. So why don't we just go over the story a little bit, not in too much detail, just to get the story. Because this is an origin story, obviously you get to meet the team, and not the entire team. You get the backstory of some of the major characters.
Yeah, you get Deadshot, Harley Quinn.
Well, let's go into some of them. Yeah. Deadshot is
Will Smith.
Will Smith. He's an assassin, like a high-tech assassin, but he has a family on the side, and he's trying to keep the assassin part away from his family. Yep. And we are, as the origin story is told for film, he is caught by Batman because he's basically between his daughter and Batman, and he doesn't want to fight in front of his daughter.
Yeah.
So that's how he's caught. Harley Quinn's character And again, you tell me the background in the comic book.
Yeah,
it's portrayed as a doctor.
She actually didn't start off in the comic book. She was from the Batman animated series originally.
Okay, but was she a doctor?
Yeah, she was a therapist. Yeah.
Okay, so that makes that
she was
kind
the
of
Joker's therapist, and then she fell in love with him over time, and then went crazy too. So.
Right. So that's kind of how it's implied here, to the point where he, like, at certain points, almost tries to kill her and keeps her and likes her and loves her and this and that and the other, and it's like she's the love of his life, and he's doing all kinds of stuff. She's part of this imprisoned group that, while she's working with the group, she's also in the process of getting broken out by the Joker. He's trying to get her out of jail and, back to him and that whole thing. We also have a little bit of Joel Kinnaman's character, Colonel Rick Flag, which you mentioned before.
Yeah, this is Rick Flag Jr. technically. So
okay, because he's a character I have no idea who it was before, and I didn't know if it was an official character or if he was added on.
He's just really like a soldier. There's like he doesn't have any superpowers, doesn't have anything. He's just the guy that makes sure everybody's in check.
But in the comic, is he involved with that girl who's kind of like a witch?
As far as I know, I don't think so. I think generally the Enchantress usually, like, she takes over June Moon, but almost never lets June Moon out, like, ever. So I don't think we really get to see anything with June Moon's character in the
comic book world. The Enchantress is part of the squad.
Well, yeah, at one point, yeah, the original, like, incarnation of the supervillains.
Yeah,
she was part of the squad. I don't think they've ever actually had to fight her. And then they also recently had her on the squad with, it was her, Reverse Flash, Poison Ivy, and like some other people too.
Okay. There are other members, but we're really not given too much of a background for them. For example, you have Captain Boomerang, which he's a character, but he's a character. He's got a certain attitude to him. He's different than the others. He's kind of like a slob. He's kind of doesn't care about anything, but we're not given the same amount of background time that we did with Will Smith or Harley Quinn's character.
We just get to see how he's captured in it. It's the Flash, which was pretty cool.
Right,
yeah.
Which, again, that's another cool little thing that we get in this film. Lots of little cameos. El Diablo, which is a guy who basically makes fire. Again, is he important? Is he known?
He seems
like a throwaway character.
He's a very minor character, but he's in the comics.
Okay.
He's in more of the recent ones, though.
Now, we mentioned Enchantress before. She's got this dual personality thing going on. Katana, is she for real?
Yeah, she was in Arrow, remember? She was also in Arrow. They had her. Yeah, she's a big she's a character that teams up with Batman very often.
What about Slipknot?
Slipknot, yeah, he's the guy who said in the comics
blew up his hand.
They blew up his hand, and this time they blew up his head.
No background. We're not given too much of a background on these characters.
He was already like taken out very early. Like I already could tell he was like the scapegoat. Like he was gonna get his head blown
that's
off.
the funny thing, because when I was watching the film, I'm like thinking, I wonder if they created some characters, disposable characters, to just kill off.
Yeah, he was the disposable one.
But yeah, I guess you have to, for this type of film, you can't just have him break an ankle. Oh, sorry, I can't make the mission. I'm going back to the hospital. Yeah. This is a more adult version of the comics. So, which is, again, the tone of this film is on par with what was already started with Man of Steel to a certain extent, and really, really made even darker with Batman vs. Superman. It's a dark world. Now, this film is a little different in terms of they're able to spend quite a lot of time, which is something that helps this film and helps any superhero film when they do a first one, with backstory, origin story, because that gives you a lot of, like, you could spend half the movie just letting people know who these characters are and how they get together and how they have to collaborate and that sort of thing. So you get away with that a lot. You can't repeat that when you get to do a sequel or any kind of, you could obviously always, because you're not introducing all the characters in the film. I mean, if you would have done backstories on all the characters, the movie would have been like 4 hours long, because you got a lot of characters to give backstories. So you could kind of save some of those other backgrounds if these characters ever show up again. But like I said before, the tone is the same. What makes it different, in my opinion, is that this movie, first of all, is full of music, almost music video kind of overwhelming. The music is very important to I'm not going to say the music is great, like in movies like Tron Legacy, for example, where the music is almost a character. But here the music is a part of the movie. Classic rock or other pop songs kind of pop in here to give it a certain style, a certain flair, if you will.
Yeah.
Humor is also a big thing in this film. It's full of one-liners and little jokes or little comebacks from each other because they're all so dysfunctional and that sort of thing. So they did spend a lot of time, peppering the film with that. As I mentioned once before, I think part of that might have been the Deadpool influence when Deadpool...
Yeah, part of it's Deadpool, and I think it was inspired heavily by Guardians of the Galaxy. Because they were because Suicide Squad is a very, at the time, wasn't a very known, comic run.
Yeah.
And so was Guardians of the Galaxy, and they saw what Guardians of the Galaxy was doing. They did the whole music thing like Guardians of the Galaxy did. They even took one of the songs that they used in Guardians of the Galaxy for that, which I thought was kind of okay, all right, we get it. That was kind of dumb, but... Yeah.
I could see that. I could see how, but obviously Guardians of the Galaxy was a much more, not only kid-friendly, but happy kind of film in terms of a more accessible film. In other words, if you had Iron Man and the Winter Soldier and, those are the heavy Marvel films, Guardians of the Galaxy was a more, I would call it child accessible film. It was more for a younger audience, more fun, a little more unbelievable, a little more fantastic. With humor, which is something that Marvel hadn't tried to that extent before. They kind of did a little bit of that, I would say, with Ant-Man. Not as much, but it's your superhero film, but kind of light, a little more friendly for everybody. Here, it's kind of like taking Batman versus Superman, that darkness. I mean, this film is dark. A lot of it takes place at night, and just the mood is very dark and grimy and that sort of thing, which is the aesthetic that Snyder has already established. But the difference is that, like I said recently, is that they took and peppered it with jokes. And I think just like Guardians of the Galaxy, Kyle mentioned, and especially Deadpool, because with Deadpool, they got to see a combination of, wait a minute, we can make this a little more adult and funny at the same time. So that's what they did with this one.
Yeah, they really tried to push it with to not get the R rating, but still get next to it. Yeah.
And this is one of those films, I believe, that it was talked about also when Deadpool was out, that all of a sudden studios were going back and re-editing, reshooting, adding a little here, tweaking a little there, because they wanted a little bit of that Deadpool money, basically. There is an audience for that sort of thing. So what's a little strange about the story, and again, I don't know if this is how the comic book develops, is that the bad guy is really, I don't want to say one of them, but it is kind of one of them. It's Flag's girlfriend who turns into this witch, and she is the lead bad guy because this witch is creating these zombified people that are, trying to blow up the city, take over the world, the usual superhero thing.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think I disliked about the film, not as much as the stuff that I liked. I like the origin stories. I like the majority of those characters. The Will Smith character, Harley Quinn, her relationship with the Joker. But to me, the bad guy was kind of generic. Again, because of my age, to me, it reminded me of Ghostbusters. It was this weird supernatural girl that can turn into a supernatural monster wielding, turning people into zombie type of weird. It just was like, oh, okay, that's what it is. A lot of lightning effects, and it's like, okay, all right, well, okay, we'll go with it. Whatever. Yeah. It's about introducing the characters. It's not about fighting a bad guy.
Yeah, I was hoping that they would, because you didn't really realize that she was the main bad guy until right before the movie actually came out, because some of the TV spots kind of showed it. But I was kind of hoping that they would have her as part of the team and then just find a way to get out before halfway through the movie, because I wish they didn't kill her off, because she would be better in they're planning a Justice League Dark movie with all this the magic supernatural characters of the DC universe, and she would have been a great villain for that, because in the original comics for Justice League Dark, their first bad guy that they fight altogether is the Enchantress, and it's a similar situation kind of, except for that it's multiple points around the globe, she's messing up everything, and it would be really interesting.
I guess that's how they do it now.
They could always bring her back she's magic, they could be magic.
Now the thing is that one of the big characters that was teased on the trailer that again a lot of people have a problem with is the fact that the Joker, and it's a big deal that they hired Jared Leto, he's a huge act. He's becoming even a bigger actor now. He's got an Oscar under his belt.
Yeah, he's going to do Blade Runner now.
He's going to do Blade Runner 2 or Blade Runner, whatever the heck sequel they're going to call it. But he, if you follow the making of this film, any of the news articles, he really got into this role and he was really over the top in terms of how into the role and how much he put into it and how much stuff was shot.
Yeah.
And if you think that the Joker is a co-star in this film, he's really not. He's, I don't know, I would even call it an extended cameo because he's not a co-star, he's not a B character, he's more like a C character. So what's really interesting about it is the fact that you could feel it, you could see how good he is going to be one day in this character, assuming he continues. But this isn't Dark Knight. The Joker is not the lead bad guy here. Now, from the studio's perspective, I guess they're trying to save him because they know that the Joker is going to automatically bring this particular franchise a boost. Once you make the Joker the lead bad guy, everybody's going to want to see this movie. So financially, I understand how you want to save that character. He's too iconic.
I see what everyone's saying about there wasn't enough Joker in the movie, but it's not the Joker's not the main bad guy. No, it's Enchantress. Yeah,
right. But again,
everyone keeps forgetting that.
But this goes back to the issue of the movies being promoted.
Yeah,
almost. I mean, when you look at the trailer,
Enchantress is barely in it.
You're like, okay, those are weird looking guys, and that's a weird looking guy. Oh, Joker, bad guy. That's the bad guy, Joker. It's easy to come to that conclusion. As a matter of fact, we read a couple of articles. They're kind of silly, but they're interesting in a way because somebody was suing the studio because the trailer portrayed the Joker so much, and then when they got to see the movie, he's in it so little. Yeah, which is a silly lawsuit, but in a way, it's got a point. It's why are you advertising? Why are you falsely advertising? And this has happened in the past. Don't get me wrong. A lot of times, not a lot of times, but I remember Kyle and I saw a movie called The Gray.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome, awesome movie. But it's very different than what the trailer shows you in the movie.
Yeah, the trailer, I remember, had a lot of scenes that weren't in the movie.
The trailer shows you this man against beasts fighting wolves type of thing, but the movie isn't about that almost up until the end, And then
most of the scenes that they had in that trailer were not in there.
Right, there was a lot of stuff that didn't even make it. Now, granted, this movie is not that bad in terms of how much of a difference there is. And luckily for The Gray was an awesome film. It was a dramatic survival story, which was great. In this film, the majority of the scenes are there, but there were a few scenes from the trailer that never made it to the film, and most of them had to do with the Joker. So I do get that point. And again, it's something that, I appreciate what they gave us, but they could have given us so much more. And to the extent where I believe even Jared Leto was giving the interviews that he's disappointed at the way they cut the film.
Yeah.
He said that they could have made an entire other film just about all the stuff they shot of him, all his interactions with characters. So there is so much about this character that I want to know more about, but it was almost like an introduction. It's like, this is just the appetizer. You're going to get your main meal in a couple of years.
Yeah, apparently they shot a scene. Actually, I think there's a whole list of scenes that were cut, online. You could look it up if you wanted to. And one of the scenes was actually we see the Joker standing in front of the burning Wayne Manor that you see in Batman vs Superman. And Batman basically punches his teeth out, and that's how he gets his teeth punched out.
Right, we learn about that,
but we don't
through
see
dialogue. But apparently they shot it.
I think they're gonna do that maybe in a different movie because I don't think they wanted to give it too much.
Well, I'm hoping that again, when this movie comes on DVD, just like Batman vs Superman, they'll either add scenes or give us all these deleted scenes, or maybe, like you said, maybe they're going to reshoot all these extra scenes to incorporating them into whatever will be the Joker film. The Joker being the bad guy.
Yeah, they can't. Right now in the DC slate, we don't really see too much that the Joker could appear. They're saying that he's going to appear in Justice League at some point, but on the current slate, I don't see any possible way to incorporate him unless they bring in that one of those Batman movies that Ben Affleck will direct and star really soon. In the slates.
Well, speaking of Batman, the other part of this film, I would say, is the Batman angle. Yeah. We do see Batman, like I mentioned in the beginning, interacting with Deadshot. They have the little thing there going on. You do see him interacting with
Harley Quinn
and the Joker, more or less. But you also see him
at the very end.
The very end in the
after
the tag scene, the stinger. because the leader, the person that's assembling this group, is Amanda Waller, who is kind of like the government, the secret government agent, the part of that group.
Yeah, Argus.
Argus, which again, this goes back to Arrow. And she's the person that's assembling this whole group. And then at the end of the film, we kind of see her again with Bruce Wayne.
And she has the metahuman files as well that he found in Batman vs. Superman.
Right. Now, where does this place this movie then, time-wise?
I guess it could still put it after Batman vs. Superman, because at the end of Batman vs. Superman...
But hold on a second. In Batman vs. Superman, he gets the files because he stole them from Lex.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess he wants to ensure that he gets the files from her as well, because there's some information, I guess, that she has that Lex didn't have or something. Because obviously Lex and Amanda Waller weren't working together.
Right. And Superman is dead in this film.
Yes, but
so
I think this kind of fits in between Batman versus Superman and it still takes place after as well, but because the Batman scenes that we do get with Batman in it take place, guess, I think it takes place right before.
Right, and the origin stories are all obviously beforehand. Some of these are beforehand origin.
Those scenes I think take place like a little bit before Superman everyone finds out who Superman is.
Right.
And so they've been in prison for like a good year or so.
Right.
And that's before Batman started killing people and getting angry about everything. They do play a little bit back and forth with the timeline in this film. But again, overall, I enjoyed it. I think it's really hard to rank them as far as I can tell. I mean, Man of Steel, I think, to me, was probably the best. Batman vs. Superman is a continuation of Man of Steel, because it's really continuing those stories and starting new ones. This one seems to kind of fit off to the side a little bit. Not as connected to the other two, but it's in that world, and there is some overlapping characters. Obviously, Batman is there all over the place. I would definitely see another one. I would love to see, like I said before, a Joker version of this film, with him being the lead bad guy. Yeah, what do you think? I think, honestly, all those other movies, the Batman vs. Superman and the original suit and the Man of Steel movie, they're just... I only really like... My favorite parts are the parts with Clark Kent as being Clark Kent and not Superman, and Bruce Wayne being Bruce Wayne and not Batman. It's just I feel like they're in costume either so little or in meaningless parts. They're just standing around looking cool for half the movie in that costume. And the Batman scene in Batman vs. Superman where he's beating up those guys in the warehouse, and any of the action scenes with Batman is good, but the second half of the movie, he just stands around in his suit and watches Wonder Woman and Superman fight Doomsday. It's just I didn't like that very much. But so I guess Suicide Squad is my favorite one out of all three so far.
Wow.
Because I feel like that's the most comic faithful at the moment, and it's
also like I said, it's also very. This is a term that might not apply anymore. It's very MTV-ish. The music is there in your face, and it propels the action. The music, it goes along with the action. It turns them into. It almost turns them into little music videos. All these little segments where they're being told, whether it's a backstory or an event that takes place, set to music. Yeah. So. There's a lot of that going on. So
also there was a lot of scenes that were cut where the Joker was actually kind of slapping around Harley Quinn, because in the original comics they have a kind of twisted relationship where he'll smack her once in a while and stuff like that, and sometimes he's actually tried to kill her a couple times in the comics, and I think they cut those out, number one, to make it PG-13. And number two, because I think, honestly, people are a lot more happy with this version of their relationship where they're actually, it looks like they're actually in love, at this point. They're, the Joker's 100% into this, Honestly, I like this better, too, so.
Yeah, well, like I said, I hope that, they go forward with it. Unfortunately, DC is in the most dangerous spot of having to revamp their slate depending on the box office results. Now, we know we have...
Next is
Wonder Woman.
Next is Wonder Woman, yeah. And then trailer, Justice League Part 1.
Right,
yeah.
The trailer's been released, so we know what they're going for. While it's in this world, it looks different. It visually looks different. It's a much lighter looking film, and there's a lot of time shifting going on between the past and the future, like World War I type of past.
Yeah, I don't know if we're actually going to see the modern day Wonder Woman. I think it's all going to be in World War One.
I think so. Like. We'll see. But speaking of DC, like we mentioned, we wanted to talk about the Batman vs. Superman DVD that they put out, which is the extended or the ultimate edition, if you will. It's funny because we started watching it and we put on our 3D glasses and we're like, is this new? No, this isn't new. Okay. So we're halfway watching the movie in 3D and we're like, wait a minute, there's nothing new here. What's going on? And then we realized we're watching the wrong disc. We were watching the regular cut in 3D as opposed to the ultimate cut that is not in 3D.
Yeah,
so
that's
when we
funny.
Eventually got around watching it again, we were able to kind of pick out, okay, that's different, this is different. So overall, again, this is one of those situations where if you dislike the film to begin with, the extra scenes are not going to help you. They're not going to make you like the film any better, I think. I like the film, so when I get more is good. I can see why they cut those scenes. It has to do with timing. They needed to trim the film down. But when you have certain films, like Lord of the Rings, for example, The Hobbit, those kind of films, when they give you more, it just feels good to get more. It's like a book that you love and you want to get more of it. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So again, now don't get me wrong. I didn't absolutely love this film. Like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. No, but I like that universe. I like seeing what's going on. I like seeing the characters. I like the explanation of things that happen, especially with the ultimate cut here. And let's just go over a few things. I know that there was a little more when Wayne Tower is being destroyed, and Bruce Wayne is able to say he was helping other kids. Before he rescues that little girl, they show you a scene of him kind of leading there's like a school group of kids or something being let out. So there was a little more of that. The entire Jimmy Olsen thing that was almost completely gone over everybody's head. The fact that Jimmy Olsen is the one that's killed when Lois Lane is at that meeting of those. Yeah,
they actually in the extended cut they acknowledge that he is Jimmy Olsen.
He is Jimmy Olsen. He's working for the CIA, and we see the CIA and we see the generals because they are trying to kind of broker some kind of a deal with this group, and the whole deal goes out the window, and they kill Jimmy, and then they order a missile to go and blow them up.
Yeah,
and Superman stops the missile from hitting them, and then that's how Superman gets in the mix. Then the bad guys betray the secondary bad guys betray the primary bad guys, which we later find out are Lex's people. Mm-hmm. So we do get more of that entire sequence and how from what I understand, it was a lot bloodier than it was before.
Yeah, you can see a lot more blood splatter.
Right, yeah. and you do see this weird, uncomfortable almost 3 or 4 way thing going on between the American government and these rebel terrorist looking guys and Lex's henchmen and everybody.
And the townspeople,
and how everybody's reacting to it. And it just clarifies that entire sequence a little more.
They also added some scenes with the Metropolis State versus Gotham City, like the football teams.
Right, and a lot of people were saying that they were hoping to see Cyborg be pre-Cyborg.
Well, yeah, apparently he's on the Gotham team at that time. We just don't know what number he is, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Now, we do get also, which, again, it was a little confusing at the time, a so-called witness to the massacre of what happened that Superman is being blamed for.
Yeah, but then we find out later that she...
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. We get to see Clark investigating that source, which we never really got to see that well before. So he's going around the city trying to find out who this woman is, and she can't find her, and back and forth. And we get to a point where he starts to find out more information, and she eventually does go on camera saying, oh, this, Lex Luthor forced me to do this, and, he threatened my life, and blah, blah, blah. And then she's killed by Luthor's henchmen. Mm-hmm. We do get
Ben Affleck's butt, which, again, I guess it makes it more of an adult film. Not an adult film, but an adult-er film. Yeah, I think Zack Snyder just wanted to see his butt.
I don't know. I guess whatever,
Yeah, Jenna Malone's character, we all thought when the movie was coming out that it was going to be Batgirl.
That was a big rumor.
It was just some Star Labs girl. That was it. But maybe she'll come back in other movies, because that's like a kind of a somewhat larger star. Like,
yeah,
she was in all the a lot of the Hunger Game movies, and she was in some other stuff.
It's such a waste of a known actor to.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna put her maybe in like the Flash movie. Maybe she's gonna work with the Flash or something like that.
Star Labs,
because it's Star Labs.
There you go. We also get a little more of the character that was branded by Batman in the beginning of the film, which we later find out that he's the guy that gives Batman the lead of the white Portuguese.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't. I don't think it was him. I think it was the Russian, but it was some. Well, he was looking for him, and he was one of those people.
Right. He's the guy that gets Batman on the trail, and we do then see him going to jail, and he's afraid of going to jail because he thinks he's going to get killed, and then he is killed in jail. So we find that out. We also get to see all these letters that the guy in the wheelchair had been sending Wayne Industries about how psychotic the guy was getting, all these threats towards Bruce Wayne, because he obviously blames him for everything that happened.
Yeah.
Well, he blames him. Well, he blames Superman for everything that happens.
Yeah.
So this is around the time when, Lex is manipulating, and you see more of how the manipulation works, how he's making Batman angrier, he's making Superman angrier, he's making both of them super angry at each other, and that's how he's controlling them in a way.
Yeah, and then you also see, there was a cut scene, like you see when Lex Luthor goes back to his laboratory and stuff, and he finds that the kryptonite's been taken. You see in a security camera footage in the new version that you see Batman like beating people up.
Oh, yeah. And you figure that, this is bad for Lex, but in reality, he kind of wants that to happen because he's basically arming Batman with a weapon to use against Superman.
Yeah.
Again, a little dialogue here or there.
But there was nothing actually new, like with the Batman versus Superman fight scene.
No, not really. But one of the more original scenes, I guess, and this is something that was revealed around the time after the movie came out.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest important deleted scene that they had.
They call it the communion scene.
They could have kept it too, honestly.
They could have, but it might have confused people a little. You have the big gigantic bad guy monster running around doing his thing, but then you have a scene where Lex is in the ship, I guess, in the pool of blood or whatever that mess is.
Yeah.
And they come to arrest him, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this thing kind of pops up.
Yeah, it's...
what is that thing?
It's believed to be Darkseid's son.
It says here Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf, yeah.
General of Darkseid.
Darkseid, yeah. He's one of the sons of Darkseid, and he's believed to be the villain for Justice League, the Justice League Part 1.
Oh.
And we don't know who's going to play him yet, but...
I see. They also go a little bit further into the actual funeral or funerals taking place between Clark Kent and Superman.
Yeah.
Which obviously they trimmed that down a little bit. And I think they extended a little bit also slightly the visit that Batman pays Lex.
Yeah.
But nothing super crazy noticeable. So, as I mentioned before, nothing earth-shattering, nothing that you would say, oh my God, this changes the entire movie. Everything just is so much clearer. No. Like I said, if you like the movie, you're probably going to appreciate the extra stuff. It's deleted scenes. It's really, but don't get me wrong, they're edited into the film. So you do get them in a coherent manner.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to the continuation. I guess what leads next is Justice League. And didn't they say something about it?
Well, next is Wonder Woman, then Justice League.
Wonder Woman and then Justice League. So Justice League will be, I guess, divided. And is that as far as we're going that we know of so far, the Justice League films?
Well, no. After Justice League Part 1, I think it's Flash. Then it's Justice League Part 2.
And when is Aquaman?
Aquaman is also in between, is with next to Flash.
Next to Flash.
Before Justice League.
Is there
Part
a Cyborg film?
Yeah, that's after 20. I think it's like 2019 or something. 2018, 2019.
Wow.
And then they have Shazam, and then in 2020 Green Lantern.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, and like I said, everything's subject to change because DC still has not really, in this modern time, hit it out of the park. They have not gotten the huge monster hit that they're hoping to get the way that Marvel has been able to get in the past. The more the better, as far as I'm concerned. Keep them coming. I like the darker tone ones. I like the lighter tone ones too. I like them all. They really haven't done a horrific job yet. I yet to see Fantastic Four.
I saw it. That was garbage.
I'm afraid to see it, but I'm going to eventually see it just to say I saw it and to give it an honest opinion, to have an honest opinion on it. But the other thing having to do with Suicide Squad, I would imagine, is DVD. Sooner or later, this thing's coming to DVD. Hopefully it will be a director's cut. We don't know if they'll go that far or they'll just add up a whole bunch of deleted scenes at the end. Maybe we'll see more Joker. But in the meantime, that's what we have. And that's not even counting the television side, because the television side, as we mentioned many, many times before, the television side does way better than Marvel on their presentation. Even though now with Netflix, I would say that Marvel is starting to inch up. Marvel can't seem to do it on regular television, but on Netflix with shows like Jessica Jones and Daredevil and what's coming with Luke Cage and Iron Fist and all that other stuff, and even Punisher, I have a feeling that Marvel might be catching up and maybe even surpassing DC on the television side. Even though Netflix is not really, I mean, it's television, but it's streamable, but it's a hybrid kind of deal, kind of like cable in a way. So anyway, I want to thank Kyle as usual for joining me, and I like to thank you guys, and we will see you here next time at GeekFest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the
Injection you got. It's a nanite explosive. It's the size of a rice grain, but it's powerful as a hand grenade. You disobey me, you die. You try to escape, you die. You otherwise irritate or vex me, and guess what? You die.
I'm known to be quite vexing. I'm just forewarning you.
Lady, shut up! This is the deal. You're going somewhere very bad to do something that'll get you killed. But until that happens, you're my problem.
So was that like a pep talk?
Yeah, those pep talk. Grab what you need for a fight. We're wheels up in 10.
You might want to work on your team motivation thing. You heard of Phil Jackson?
Yeah.
He's like the gold standard, okay? Triangle, bitch. Study.
Oh, okay.
Magic.
Ben Affleck's butt.